Welcome back, everyone, to another SaaS Connect online. Happy New Year to everyone. Today, we have Punit Thakkar from Shivaami. He has built over the last 16 years a $30 million a year business as a born in the cloud reseller of Google, Microsoft, Zoho, you name it. And we've been interviewing a lot of our partners our channel partners on the other side of the table. And for most of us in the SaaS side, we struggle to understand what they need, what makes them successful, how we could be better for them. If they're successful, they're closer to their customer, will be more successful. So thank you for joining us, Punit, today. I really appreciate it. And just for anyone who has questions, fire away in the Q&A. We'll bring it to you. And of course, for the executive members, we'll have the speakers lounge after this talk, and you can join at cloudsoftwareassociation.com. So Punit, why don't you introduce yourself? And by the way, it's 11:30 p.m. your time, so thank you for doing this so late.
Yeah.
Tell us your story. Who are you, and what is Shivaami?
Yeah, sure. So I am a founder and the managing director of Shivaami Cloud Services. We are cloud service brokers. We are Google Cloud's largest reseller in India. We are managing 10,000 plus customers. We sell, support, service, do end-to-end servicing for customers who need G Suite, GCP, Chrome, and Google Education Services. That's the core business of mine, which is almost around 85 to 90% of the business. Apart from that, we also support our customers on Office 365, Zoho. With the help of GoDaddy, we help them with the domain and DNS related stuff. So, if any company who's thinking of getting onto digital journey, they need help, we are the one who help them end to end. Sometimes, we don't support certain products and services. So we are very open that we connect them with the related parties and then we get out of it. So that's what we do. We are last year's, Diversity and Inclusion Partner Award winner from Google. In my office, we have 80-20 ratio. 80% female working for us and 20% male members working for us. And we make sure that we serve our customers end to end. We are a team of roughly around 250 to 300 people.
That's ridiculous, how much growth you've experienced and how much you do. I'm kind of interested about the future of what's going to happen next. But let's dig back in the past. I mean, you've been doing this for 16 years. I think you've always been internet oriented, but just as well as I do, there's a born in the cloud reseller. That's how what you would describe yourselves, right? Like you started
Absolutely.
Off, and there's those who start off in the license channel who've not made it successfully. And you're probably like one of the top 20 Google resellers internationally. So you've been in this industry long enough. What would you say is the difference that's caused those companies like yourselves to be massively successful by being born in the cloud? And why have not traditional, service providers been able to make it into this channel?
So one thing which I learned very early when I got into the cloud business was power of compounding customers.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to always think that, if I have multiple customers over the period, the renewal rates or, the predictable income is much better than pushing a box which is fat margin at the beginning and then realizing that, the customer is not there for next 5 years. So I kind of invested my time on recurring revenue. And that was something which made me realize that, the cloud is the next thing where I can rely on customers. I can make sure that I can go and push another product also. But when you look at the traditional partners, channel partners, especially I am part of, many associations in India, like the Software Dealers Association of India, I have across 2,500 members in that. Most of them are struggling with their businesses, with the hardware, or even still looking at the vendors to help them with, sales and marketing process. I was very clear from the beginning that, if I get into the SaaS game, you know, I have recurring revenue coming in. And luckily, uh, I was one of the early partners of Google in 2008, and a lot of support from Google at the beginning. I remember when we were selling in India market in dollars, you know, it was very difficult, but still, and there was no team. So there used to be people from Australia come all the way to India and sell in dollars. And lot of support from Google came to us, and we realized that this is something which works well, and that's what I believe that is part of my success.
Well, actually, talk about that, because I mean, right now I'm experiencing this. Like, part of what I'm doing with AppBind is helping SaaS companies go into reseller markets, but India is a special market, right? Because like money, you can't buy things in US dollars easily in India because of the foreign exchange and the local tax compliance. I know this is a bit nerdy to get into the weeds right away, but like, what does the Indian market look like? Why does it have to be a reseller market?
Yeah, so most of the developed markets are DIY markets, right? Wherein customer is interested to go online, purchase online, and use it himself. But India is a different market. It is DIFM, do it for me. We have too many people here,
Yep.
and everyone is here to offer you service, right? So if you go and sell someone uh, probably for $5, there would be someone else who would say, I will do it for $1. Yeah. So and people are happy to get it done, right? Because you got someone to support you, someone to do it for you, someone to support you. So that's the India market. I would also diversify a little bit here and say that India is not a plain market, a plain area where you can sell product in the same pattern across India. So if you are selling into North India, you will find customers who would deal with you differently. If you're selling into South India, the customer's pattern is different. If you're in West India, it's totally different. Yeah. So let's say I'll give you an understanding. If you're dealing with someone in area of Bombay, like where my base is, right? Here, what people say is truth. But if you deal with someone in North India, say Delhi, if someone has said something, you have to have it in writing, otherwise you are in trouble. Yeah. So India that way is very different market. South is very easy market, very similar to North American market. So it's a different approach altogether we have to have. Okay. As far as currency, as far as uh, support from the vendor. So yes, there are challenges with all the vendors because registering an Indian entity for any American company is a pain, right? So sometimes they do billing directly from America. Sometimes they bill it from Singapore, and it's always a challenge. Again, for resellers like us, currency fluctuation. So suppose I'm buying in dollars, and then if there is a currency fluctuation, I am in a mess. Luckily, I'm with Google, and Google that way is very generous company. They support us. So it's this is not available to everyone because not everyone gives such a volume of business wherein they can justify the cost. But it is available to few resellers like us who are the top resellers, wherein Google makes sure that currency fluctuation is taken care to some extent. We take some burden, they take some burden. Similarly, the other problem what we face is the withholding tax of India. So suppose a customer buys directly from America using credit card, he is liable to pay withholding tax to the government. Right. So suppose I make a payment to an American entity, I have to deduct the withholding tax and then make a payment to the American entity. Unfortunately, not everyone knows about it. Not everyone is able to manage that. So big players like Google is able to manage that. Unfortunately, not everyone is able to do it. As far as Microsoft is concerned, they are very smart and very established. They would bill us from Singapore, but they'll bill us in Indian rupees. So that withholding tax problem is gone.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
So all the different vendors have different way of working, and it's very difficult sometimes to manage it, but luckily it works for us. And we've been doing it for almost 11 years now. So we have systems and processes set. We know what to expect, what not to expect. So it works for us.
So this is why you're a reseller. Jasmine Jenkins has asked, are you a value-added reseller? So there's the mechanics of selling, the transaction part. There's reasons for that, why that has to be the case. But beyond that, are you providing value-added services? I mean, are you a $30 million business a year because you're just selling software, or are you doing something else?
No, so we do provide, the managed services. We do provide support. We do provide, the migration services. So if you look at my revenue model, it is very simple, 70-30. 70% is the licensing cost and 30% is the service revenue. Yeah. Again, as I said, India is country of too many people. So if you are selling at 10 rupees, there is someone else who is interested to sell it 5 rupees. So you have to fight it out, make sure that you are winning that customer or service. And that's the typical challenge what we face. But luckily, it works for us. We have a very established brand in India today, wherein people trust us. Also, Google recommends us everywhere. So we get the mileage of charging service revenue to the customers as well.
You just blew my mind with that number, because Microsoft, for instance, is very proud of the fact for every $1 Microsoft software, whatever they're selling, their partners are making $9. So it is a 90 to 10 service to software model. Salesforce is trying to catch up. They're doing a lot of work there, and they're at $4.50 some cents as of 2019 for service revenue for every $1 of Salesforce. My own experience, having when I started the marketing team at FreshBooks and watching all these service companies flail around in the cloud, I saw the service dollars per dollar of software get very close to 1-to-1, which is not a good market. And you're actually the other way around. So
absolutely.
Is that just the nature of the Indian market, or is that because labor costs are low and therefore you can eke out a margin there?
We got plenty of engineers coming out every year. So it's typical Indian market. See, basically what happens if you look at Indian market, the larger chunk is SME. Now SME is always a struggler. Yeah, they are fighting for small things like meeting their numbers, etc. Now, if you look at them, they will not let you on. So, as everywhere else in the world, probably in all the developed markets, per dollar of sales for the vendor brings $2 of service revenue, or $3 or $5. India, it's always the reverse.
That's crazy. So tell me though.
So in order to become a successful in India, you need to have a scale. If you're not having scale, you are not able to meet that number.
Yeah, so this is what I want to get into. So the economics are interesting. There's particulars for India, but I think you're so forced because of the economics to be very precise about what you're doing, that this is why I really wanted you to speak, right? Because you have probably the best laboratory to understand the board in the cloud channel, I think, of any person I've ever met. And for everyone here trying to figure it out, in the North American market, there's too much money. And so you can screw around for a bit, but you have to figure it out. So let's just start from your customer. Why do they buy from you? I mean, you kind of answered this, but what is the problem in their mind? It's not Google, because that's irrelevant, Google or Microsoft or Zoho, it's something bigger, like something more to them. What would you describe as their fear, anxiety, pain that you're dealing with?
So most of the time, customers would come to us for the simple reason that they do not want to directly deal with Google for billing, etc. Because as I said, you are liable to pay some TDS, some withholding tax to the vendors. No one wants to do the billing on their own. So they would want to have the billing through us, right? Once they come for billing, so that's the primary thought process which comes in their mind. The second thought process, as I said, it's a do it for me market. They do not want to get into the nitty-gritties of technicalities of migration, etc. So they would want us to do that for them. Third, they would always want the support from us. So here, again, my customers swear by my company is they get their call attended within 1 minute or probably maximum 3 minutes. So suppose you are dealing with, vendors directly, they will have to wait in the queue to attend someone, and then some unknown agent will attend you. You will have to explain your problem. But here with our company, it's very simple. We map the customers with agents and make sure that customer knows the agent and agent knows the customer well. So all the problems are attended very fast and smoothly. So that's the reason they deal with us.
And then to scale that, because it's very labor intensive. I know you can throw bodies at it, but you're only 250 people, right? You mean it's only you're using those your team efficiently. So what did you need to do to make this happen? And by the way, when you say they phone you, right? This Google, you can't
Absolutely.
phone. No phone number for Google, right? So like that's the advantage of the reseller market. But so how did you make this work for you so it's efficient? Because I gotta make this point in a second way, just so the audience who are SaaS companies understand. A lot of what SaaS companies believe is that they have great success teams and support teams, and some of them actually do have really good customer support. But that's not scalable if you want to reach the entire world market because your team is only so big. So working with other service companies, you have to replicate the service. But the interesting thing about you is you're supporting more than one product. You're supporting many products, for the customer. And so for the customer, it's one phone call rather than 6. So, but that must drive you insane internally to bring it to order. So what are you doing to organize yourselves to provide this whole solution to the client, your customer base efficiently?
Sure. So I will tell you all this services what we are providing, all the support what we are providing, we have evolved over the period of time. I will give you one simple example. On my website, there is an option for customer to log in and add extra license if they want to. But we still in a day get around 500 odd requests on an email to add the license on behalf of the customer. So there is an option for them to do it themselves. And then there is an option for them to get it done from my team member. What is the ratio? 10% on the do it myself. Yeah. And do it for me is 90%. So that's the typical nature of the market. Now, how do I address with the support and services? So I have dedicated teams to take care of support, right? We use, Zoho Desk for ticketing and make sure that we use it very effectively. Our EPBX, which is Cloud EPBX, is connected with, cloud telephony, is connected with Zoho Desk, right? The agents know who is calling, and if I am not available, who else to be? So all the workflows are defined well, right? We are always improving onto it, but luckily, what I do is that suppose I have requirement of around 20 agents to support my customer, I would always add 5 more and keep them on the bench. So my my customer attendance ratio, so time to attend a customer, is much lower. And that's the winning formula I use.
Yeah. So this is all lining up. So Jake asked a question. Jake Wallace asked a question from Sign Easy, and I'm kind of lining up for this. So he says, "Hi, Punit. Thanks for your time. How should SaaS companies crack the engagement nut with resellers?" So, like, given the context of what you're actually doing, having a new SaaS company approaches you, I'm sure you get approached all the time. When do you say yes and when do you say no? And what do you think you could teach the SaaS company to make that easier for them to make it work for you?
So, as a matter of fact, today, the policy remains that we use the product first. We make sure that product is working well, and then we allow them to, go to our customers. So that's the policy today. But of late, since a year, I've been getting similar requests. People want to get into the market. Unfortunately, if the product is not ready completely, right? You have to be very honest to the customer that this is my limitation, and this is the product limitation, and this is the kind of roadmap what we are working on. Most of these SaaS companies which I kind of come across, they are all funded. The founders are looking at quick money, yeah, and looking at exit. Unfortunately, if you go with the product in the market, and if you do not have vision of sustaining in the long term, it's very difficult for you to succeed in the SaaS market. Because I have seen many companies come and go, the products come and go. People do require those products, but the company doesn't exist anymore. Either it is bought over or it is killed by the sale or whatever, and then customer is kept in the dark. So that winning trust of the customer with the product is very important. That's what I believe. If someone wants to enter into the India market, I would always say get into the south of India. That market is very similar to North America. If you succeed there, the other people will slowly accept you.
There's one of my things I say all the time, because I learned it the hard way, was why do clients hire service companies? Now, it doesn't matter what service company it is. It doesn't matter whether you're a CSP, like you are a cloud service provider. It doesn't matter if you're an auto mechanic. It doesn't matter if you're a physician. It's always the same reason. Clients have anxiety and they're freaking out. There's a risk, right? If in a business case, the reason why it has to be anxiety is they would go to staff if they could, because they have to see the staff every day. They don't need to see you. And so going outside the organization is quite a lift. And I found that to be true. And so if there's a mistake made by, if it's the customer buying directly from the vendor, the customer can handle the risk because it's them taking the risk. But when they go to a service provider like you, right, their anxiety is high enough that there's no room for risk with you, right? You're going to get, if you increase their anxiety, you're going to get fired. Is that right? And that's why it sounds like you've over-invested in the bench, for instance, like too many people on the phones, which is good. You're careful about software companies, and this is, universal. You're not alone experiencing this. So, like, who's been good at this? Who's come to you and built that relationship? I mean, there's the Googles and Zohos of the world, which are well-established companies, but has there been anyone who's not been the huge companies who approached you and surprised you with their, yeah, I really like this, that can trust these people? And what did they do?
Absolutely. So I also represent a company in India called G Control. Okay, they have a very simple SAML product, right, which sits on top of Google G Suite, right? Luckily, they are in the market for almost a decade now, and initially I had challenges with them, but over the period they have evolved. They're still there in the market. There are still customers who are working with them, and I am happy with that. So likewise, I deal with G Control. I deal with Spanning. Now, Spanning, I would say the company was sold 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah, and even today, luckily, Yeah,
Is
it
that a
was
good thing?
sold 4 times and 4 different business model, 4 different business owners, right? And today, they are now established again. I had what, maybe around 2,000 customers who were using spanning. Now I have hardly 300 to 400 customers, because all these acquisitions and sale and business model change have made sure that I move that customer to someone else, because I have to face the customer.
Yes.
And that's very important. The customers sometimes will tell me that I don't know who your supplier is, who your vendor is. I know you. Can you give me a solution? And that's where we have to stand.
So last year at Dreamforce, we're at the cocktail party we had. Do you remember those? We used to
Yeah,
see each other and fly places,
yeah.
conferences. That wasn't even last year. It was in 2019. I just forgot about last year. But so I had cornered another MSP or CSP at this conference, and I was asking them. I really cornered them too. It's like, why are you not selling more technology, like more software to your customers? And he just let me have it. He said, I don't sell software I don't care. I care about none of you, because it was a room of software vendors. I care about none of you. None of you are interesting to me. I care about my customer and what I can do for them. Because the only thing I'll do whatever they need me to do. That's basically it. I need the technology, some of it, to deliver the project, but I'll replace you in a heartbeat, if you give me a hard time. And it was an interesting truism he was saying to me. But you've obviously stuck by with so many of these products, so of the best of them, like what's a good story of someone who's like really one of these software companies who, you mentioned Google and making the billing, but like what has made the trust happen for you? Like what is the legs of a trusted
So,
relationship?
sure. So over the period we have evolved, as I said. So we also have over the period realized what is the purpose of this company? Why are we doing this? And that's where we developed our purpose statement. The purpose of Shivami is to bring positive change in life of the people by offering them solutions and services which brings profit and happiness. So it's very crisp and clear that we want to make positive change in the life of the people we connect by offering them solutions and services. Now, these solutions and services are also tried and tested. We make sure that we deal with only the genuine founders, genuine companies who are going to be there for a longer period of time in the business, because customer need that solution for a longer period of time, not just once or twice. And that also, since I am in the India market where profitability is always a question, so profit was there in my purpose, that if there is no profit, let's not do the business. And if there is a profit, everyone is happy, because then everyone is getting their salaries on time. So we made sure that our purpose is also defining the products what we offer. Now, as far as offering is concerned, definitely, I would say Google stands very, very high on my radar, because Google has never failed the product or the services. Yeah, my customers are always happy. The second comes GoDaddy. They also are very high on delivery. Third comes Microsoft, Zoho. So we are now very choosy. At the same time, we make sure that good companies we represent them in India and make sure that their products are being used by us as well as our customers. Yeah. Then I have many other products also, but luckily, these 4 or 5 companies make major chunk of my business.
So these other products, I'm kind of interested in that. I mean, you already have relationships with big four. I mean, that's fine. So most of us here are not them, because there's only 4 of them, and there's 3,600 of us. So these other companies, like, are they somehow like product integrations? I mean, G Control obviously is related to G Suite, and are the reason why you have other products, are they related to these anchor apps in your portfolio, or are they some of them like totally different? Like, what are the other products and why?
Yeah, so I would also give you name of Aptivo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. wonderful product, wonderful team, wonderful support. I closely recommend it to my customers. Of late, we have started working with Garbage Cloud. Again, the same thing. They are very aggressive, very open, So what happens, sometimes we face challenges with the product companies which are smaller in nature because they do not have much of experience. So they, have bits and pieces open for us to, suggest them. Luckily, some people do, accept our suggestions and improvise onto the product. Some people do not. Those who improvise and are committed to go to market with us, we would always support them. I understand there are teething problems. So I would give you some understanding. It took me around 1.5 years to develop one product for the market. But once it was kind of ready, with the founder, I used to kind of communicate regularly, give them feedback onto the product. Once it was ready, it was hardly 3 to 4 months. We went to the market and we make sure that the product is accepted in the market. Today, that product is doing very good. So it's since I have many products, I do not really want to confuse myself or yourself with the names, but I know few of the cases where we really had good experience and they did work with us and we sold a lot of products.
Like if I was to summarize what you were saying in some like overarching way, I mean, there are tactical things here, but because the customers need to trust you, you need to trust the vendors, right? And it is like, and it's just a very much a human relationship thing. It sounds like they're talking to you, they're responding to you, they're listening to you, they're following up and executing on their promises to you, and they're making progress in the way that you like. It's basically,
yeah. It's not as always us like. It's the customer who's demanding something, and we kind of refine and tell them that I think this is the better option or this is the better feature which we could integrate, and they would accept it.
Yeah, that's another actually interesting point that comes up is that a lot of vendors assume you're pushing solutions down into the customer base. Does that ever happen that you're like saying you're going to use Aptivo or Soho, or is it all based on customer need and demands? Like, what's the push?
Whenever we as a company, whenever we go to customer, we go with the options. That when I sell G Suite, I tell them that G Suite is my major business and I'm very much expertise on that. But if someone says no, I am interested in Office 365, I will never say no. I'll say, okay, I will be able to give you Office 365. I do not have much expertise, but still I'll be able to support you well. Then I always give them option. Luckily, that works for us.
What about these more complicated business line products like CRM? That's part of your portfolio.
I don't see a challenge. In fact, we offer Zoho as well as Aptivo as a CRM, right?
And when do you enter that into the conversation? I'm asking. I mean, like sometimes. So the question the vendors have is some of the vendors think that you're saying, well, have you considered a CRM before they even open their mouths, talking to you about sales or anything. And sometimes like, is that what's happening, or are you only waiting until the customers told you these are the problems and then you provide solutions? Like what's the push?
No, so we definitely talk to customer regularly. And when you talk to customer regularly with their problems or, you just give them a courtesy call, there is always an opportunity. You just have to ask for it. Right? So luckily, when we converse with the customer, we tell them that I have a bouquet to offer. Right now, out of the bouquet, I know your pain areas are this today, but suppose tomorrow you need some other product also. Do check with us. If we do not sell that or if we do not support that, probably we'll recommend you someone. Luckily, today in the market, we have that reputation that, even someone wants to buy an iPhone, they'll check with me. Do you sell iPhone? And I would say, no, I don't, but I will suggest you someone.
That's very interesting. I mean, that is what the trusted partner relationship becomes, right? You become, because the customers don't, like what I found is a lot of your clients probably don't want to think about tech in the way that we do, right? Because they're doing something else with their lives, right? And so they're coming to you first. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Or sometimes, they would want to know the opinion of ours, experience of other customers, so they would still talk to us.
So interesting. I mean, you're a $30 million a year business in India, which is, if you could scale it, took to North America, you'd be like a 7-figure business just because the labor costs are different, right? You're a significant player. And I've talked to big companies like you, and I've talked to small freelancers and everyone in between. And it's always the same story. Like, customers are the same, and the stories are the same. I've been doing this for the last 2 years now. I've been like really focused on this problem. It's always the same. We're about to wrap up here. So I guess the question is like, let's just talk about 2021. So digital transformation is happening. Everyone's like, moved online. You're working with all these vendors. What are you, when you're looking at the opportunity in 2021 and the challenges ahead, what's the biggest opportunity ahead for you, and what are the challenges that you need to overcome to meet that opportunity?
So opportunity, especially in India, post lockdown, everyone is talking digital and cloud, right? Recently, I read somewhere that in India itself, the cloud opportunities for 2021 to 23 is around $5 billion. Right? I feel that's a huge opportunity for us. Right? I'm looking at hiring more people onto the cloud, especially the GCP practice of mine, where a lot of what do you call the architects are needed for enabling the customers onto the cloud. I'm looking at ramping up my Zoho business, because all of a sudden, I don't know where the demand has come from, but initially we were pushing people to buy Zoho. Now they are coming and telling us that we want to buy Zoho. I don't know, it is Zoho's PR which has worked well or what, but a lot of demand is coming from Zoho. So I'm looking at investing more people and team on Zoho as well. Again, as a matter of practice, I would want to get into the North American market. Okay. And that's what my plan for 2021 is. That be somewhere around April, May, I think I should start an operations in North America as well and support customers there as well.
That's interesting. Reverse takeover.
I'm not sure it's called reverse or not, but at least I should test that market.
Well, we're talking about U.S. companies. Well, I guess you have some Indian companies. You're talking about U.S. companies coming in because that's how the title of the talk was. And now you're like, thanks, come over. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, you guys have, like I said, one of the sharpest operations out there because you're forced into it because the economics of your market demanded it. And I've always been excited to hear year after year like how you guys have been improving your operations, because like I don't know anyone who's had to do it in like the amount of pressure and challenge you guys have done it so well. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise this time once again, Punit. And for those of us. For those of us who are executive members who'd like to chit chat a little bit longer, come over to the Hash members in our Slack and join us on the speakers lounge just to talk to Punit more casually. All right, with that, I'll say goodbye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
For more great insights on partnerships and software, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.